I want to sing a nigun that we didn't. I didn't get to sing this year for some reason. I don't know why, but I sang it last year, like the whole Adar. So come sit over here. Come sit over here. I sang it the whole Adar last year, so I'm going to sing it now. It's still Adar, and the whole month is V'na'afochu. It's not just Purim. The whole month is still backwards.
So maybe we should go sit over there.
All right, you want to switch?
You can do it.
I'm just trying to.
There's ever a night. Shoishanas Yaakov Tzahalla v'Samecha Yirei Samyacha Cheles Mordechai Shoishanas Yaakov Tzahalla v'Samecha Yirei Samyacha Cheles Mordechai Shoishanas Yaakov Tzahalla v'Samecha Yirei Samyacha Cheles Mordechai Shoishanas Yaakov Tzahalla v'Samecha Mirei Samyacha Cheles Mordechai Oy Shuasam Oy Salanetzah V'Zikvasam B'chol Dor V'Dor Shuasam Oy Salanetzah Oy V'Zikvasam B'chol Dor V'Dor Oy Dai 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 Cheles Mordechai Shoishanas Yaakov Tzahalla v'Samecha Mirei Samyacha Cheles Mordechai Oy Shuasam Oy Salanetzah V'Zikvasam B'chol Dor V'Dor Shuasam Oy Salanetzah V'Zikvasam B'chol Dor V'Dor Ay la 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 bum 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 la la bum 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 ay la 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 bum 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 hey la 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 We're back. Get to learn more. Get to learn together again after a long hiatus. And Shalom Aleichem to all the Rabbi Yeshiva students. I hope that you could see, hear, and feel that you're close. So we're going to have a few. So we're going to be learning till Pesach now straight, and after Pesach there shouldn't be any. Now probably till Bezrat Hashem to like Shavuos. maybe to, no, it's a little bit now, there's a little bit in between there, but till like around Shavuos, we'll be learning straight, Bezrat Hashem. Go stronger and stronger. And for the Chav in Yerushalayim, we're going to be learning also till Pesach, but we'll get to that later. Before anything, I want to dedicate tonight's shir to the Ilui Neshama of my grandmother, Chaya Rachel Bas Tzvi Hirsch, who is Yortzeit this Wednesday night. She passed away, I think it's going to be 17 years ago. I think 17 years. I was very close to her, very, very close to her. And it's a zchut to be her grandson and to continue Bezrat Hashem, B'Simcha, her mishpacha, and she should be a Melitzat Yosher on all of us, and bring forth good, send down good vibes and good news from above, Bezrat Hashem. And also, Baruch to your friend's son, Hashem Yishmor, the Ilui Nishmas Binyamin Ben Sarah, Allah Hashalom, his neshama should have an aliyah in the suffering. I also want to dedicate tonight's shir in memory of Shmuel Silver, whose yahrzeit was just yesterday, from the Moshel. And what was it? So, do you know his name? Do you know Shmuel's name? No. Okay, in memory of Shmuel Silver, Nechama's husband. And hopefully I want to also do it in honor of good things, so next time you walk in, you have to come with the paper of like, a great thing happened to this person today, or something nice happened to that person today. And the truth is that great things happened this week in the world. The truth is that very, very good things happened all over the world right now. Why? Because when Am Yisrael goes through Purim, the world changes. Something changes. And this beautiful time between Purim to Pesach is a very unique time that doesn't get, it's like you have in the Sfarim, talks a lot about Purim, talks a lot about Pesach, it talks a lot about the Moadim, the Chagim, but this month, Pesach is less than a month away, obviously. So this, everyone takes that deep. Yeah, Chav, if you could turn off your phones or put it on vibrant, I'd appreciate it. So this period right now, this very, very, very special month, and the Parshiyot are only getting more and more special, and we're about to bid farewell to Sefer Shmot right now. And I didn't know where to begin, because I wanted so badly, to talk about something that's going to make us feel really good, because I'm sure you agree with me that, especially right now in the country, you're surrounded by, on the one hand, so much Kedusha, so much purity, so much holiness, just mitzad ha'etzem, from just the mere fact that we're here. And then on the other hand, right now, there's so much Lashon Hara, and so much bad energy in the air, and so many Yidden saying horrible things about each other day and night, non-stop. And every day you're getting closer to the election, there's more Lashon Hara that someone says he thinks they have to share about someone else so that they get your vote. And I was davening in the beginning of these elections that there should be one party that stands up and says, look, everyone tries to do good, and they're also trying to do good, and they're also trying to do good, and we just think we'd be really good at this. Can you imagine?
Actually, somebody did something very nice. I just saw part of it. Somebody interviewed Chavei Knesset. They had to say something good about their opponents.
Oh, nice.
It was real, I just saw 2 minutes of it. It's a long thing.
It took them 5 hours each to find something?
No.
Really?
No, yeah,
well, you didn't know what the editing was like. I'm kidding. So that actually makes me a little bit happy. But it's I guess maybe because I don't remember, maybe because when you're younger you're just not aware of it, but so many people saying so many bad things about each other every single day. It's so disgusting. So I was working on a evening Rabbi Shlomo did in 1988 in Yerushalayim. And I don't know what was going on in the country then, but he was coming back from somewhere, and he said to all his chevra, he said, friends, you have to know, someone just asked me last week, what are we supposed to do now in Am Yisrael? What are we supposed to do? So he said, besides the obvious, which is get close to the Ribono Shel Olam and learn and daven, you have to absolutely banish anger from the air. Because as long as there is anger in the air, anger bounces off each other. It's like a ping pong match. And even if it gets stuck in the net, he didn't say this was my interpretation of it, even if you get stuck In the net, you take the ball off and you keep on starting again, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But he says, can you imagine when you come up to somebody that you have every reason in the world to be angry with them and say to them, it's amazing, I should be so angry at you, but like, I'm going to love you anyway. Ha! What are you going to do with that? That's the real nitzachon. That's the real, that's the nitzachon of Purim, that's the holiday, that's the victory of what we come out on the side of Purim. Changing up your neshek, changing up your weapons a little bit. So, alavai, bischut, the yortzeit of my grandmother, bischut, all the good news that has come through this mikveh called Purim, Hashem should give us a real open heart to open up in ways that we could never imagine for tonight's learning. Because I'm very excited about it. Because it's something that I never got into. In fact, by now already, I get the whole nervous syndrome of korbanos of Vayikra. I'm going to fall asleep in shul syndrome. Like, that's what we're heading into. Vayakhel Pkude, it's not exactly as fun as Ki Tisa. Fun. I mean, it's not exactly as interesting as Ki Tisa of the golden calf. And now we're about to go into something, 2 parshas, mainly just what? Mishkan. And then a whole sefer of mainly korbanos. Remember I told you once I was walking with a great, I say great like this, a great rabbi, philosopher in Yerushalayim one day, and he said to me, I had a whole mahalach, he said, years ago, I think Am Yisrael would have been so much better had we just would have chosen to not throw away Sefer Vayikra, but just take on ourselves to realize that we don't really need to read it anymore, and maybe even stop reading and protest to God that until there's a Beis HaMikdash, we're not going to read about the Korbanos. So I looked at him and I couldn't, it was around Purim time, and I couldn't tell. When someone tells you something and you're not sure if they're making a joke or not, but you're too embarrassed to start laughing either way? Because if he's being serious, what are you going to start cracking up? He just told you a joke, right? So when he looked at me, he said that to me, I was like, like one of those. It's a bad scene. Anyway, what we're going to do with Vayikra this year is also stuff we never got into before. I'm very, very excited. But for tonight, I'm very excited because of the person we're going to be learning about. And that's Betsalel. And Betsalel, ben Uri, ben Chur, the Matei Yehuda, is going to blow our minds away. Mamish. If you have a mind left after Adel Lo Yada, if you have anything left after Purim, he's going to come and Mamish, put the nail in the coffin of Das, Bezrat Hashem. Something incredible. And just to ask ourselves the question that we should be asking ourselves all day long. You tell me what you think. Or just think about it. And the question is, what are we here for? What are we here? What are we here doing? Been out in the Moshav, been around a lot of unfortunate situations lately. Some deaths, very, very incredible people we'll be talking about a little bit later. While we're here, you and I right now, what are we busy doing? What are we trying to do here? What are we trying to do? We're trying to fix the world? That'd be nice. Are we trying to spread Torah in the world? That'd be nice too. Bezrat Hashem. Are we trying to rid ourselves of all our negative traits? Work on ourselves? Real avodas hanefesh. Mamish working on ourselves? That too. But as a klal and as a general, as Am Yisrael, what are we busy doing here? What are we trying to do down here? What are we told that we're supposed to be doing here? Like if you could nail it into one answer. You take Parshas Truma and you hear those words, Ve'asu li mikdash ve'shachanti betocham. Every day that you and I are alive in this world, it's not just to get over the past and prepare ourselves for the future, or even to live in the now, which is the cool thing to say today if you want to show that you're, intellectually advanced or spiritually advanced. You want to say, I want to live in the now. What does that mean? It means building a sanctuary for the Ribono Shel Olam down here. Like the Tanya speaks about all the time from the Kabbalistic writings, Nit'ava HaKadosh Baruch Hu liot lo dira bat tachtonim. God has a desire that He should have a dwelling place in the tachton, down here, in this world. That down here, what are you and I busy with all the time? building a little mikdash in our hearts, in our physical homes, and also in a way in our portable homes, meaning wherever we go, if you're able to machnis an oreach into your heart, if you're able to do the mitzvah of achnasas orchim in your heart, welcoming guests into your portable home, then you're a walking mikdash. And we, Baruch Hashem, have been privileged to be learning Torah for many years already right now from someone who was a walking Beis HaMikdash. Rabbi Shlomo was machnis orchim into his portable home wherever he went. And in that level, I don't know anyone that did it like him. I just have to share it with you because I got really excited today because I was working on a very special project, which I can't talk about yet, but Bezrat Hashem, I'll talk about in 2 weeks, hopefully. But it's blowing my mind. Rabbi Shlomo said that he had once heard that there was a person, an Einikel of the Yid HaKadosh of Pshischa, I think it was, a descendant of the Yid HaKadosh of Pshischa, who in between the two world wars, and assimilation was already going nuts after World War I. It's not like everyone was wearing Streimelach in Europe before World War II. It's not true at all. Already after World War I, assimilation was almost like 70%. And 30% were still Hasidic Yidden in Europe. So there was this one Einikel of the Yid HaKadosh of Pshischa, that what would he do? He would walk around, he would run around with a certain instrument. Reb Shlomo said he's not sure if it was guitar or flute or I don't know what. And he would go and talk to youth wherever he was going while singing to them. And he would go to lodge all the time. There's lodges where he used to go to all the time. And he would get thousands of kids to come and daven with him in shuls, because he would really inspire them through singing them a Hasidic melody or whatever it was. But how come no one knows about this Einikel of the Yid HaKadosh of Pshischa? Because Reb Shlomo said, as soon as the rabbis found out about this, so the rabbis threw him into cherem. They made cherem? They put him into excommunicated him. And what happens afterwards? The guy ran away, he never came back. No one ever heard of him again. So Reb Shlomo said that when he first heard this story, that he thought that maybe he's his Gilgal. Because, he said, because in today's work we were doing today, Reb Shlomo was going off for an hour talking about all the people all the so-called big Jewish people or rabbis, who when he first came out with Hanasham Allah, with his first record, 1959, would call him and offer him money to take his albums that he printed and throw them into the Hudson River because he's ruining Jewish neshamas. And all the rabbis that called him to tell him what kind of a disgrace he was to Judaism.
From the first album?
Yeah. So, he was going on for a while. It was a Motzei Shabbos, late night in the Moshav in 1980, May 30th, 1980. And it was just Chevra, and he was really letting loose. It was amazing. And so he was singing this year.
May 30th, 1980?
Sorry?
He was on the Moshav then? Because he had surgery the week before.
May 30th, 1980. Maybe that's why he was singing less and he was talking
so
a
I got
lot.
married May 18th, and he couldn't come to the wedding because he was in the hospital. He was having polyps.
Interesting. He barely sings on the tape. Because he says, I can't, I gotta keep my
He
voice.
was in the hospital,
Interesting.
and he didn't come to our wedding.
You got married in the Moshav?
No, in the States. That's where I'm asking.
Oh, in the States.
On May
Yeah.
18th.
May 30th, 1980, this is it.
So that's like 10 days, 12 days
Yeah.
later.
He wasn't exactly the one to stay in bed.
No, but he couldn't, he told us.
Yeah.
He couldn't speak, he couldn't...
I hope I'm not ruining his cover-up right now by telling you he was really in Israel.
No, he wasn't, he was restored.
Okay. No, that's happened before, by the way, you should know.
No, he was, we know he went into, he was in the hospital the day before. But yes.
That happened before, but that happened once before. Oh, it was a horrible thing. Oh man, I think I ruined someone's life when I forget what it was, but I how do you know? Like whatever, doesn't matter.
He wrote a song for them.
That happens all the time, but I don't tell them. That absolutely not. That song was written 14 years before your son was born. Yeah, those kind of things. But whatever. It's not for now. Anyway. Anyway, back to where we're going on. But I do want to. I just want to say that there's a clear connection between Betsalel and Rabbi Shlomo. We're going to see it tonight. Anyway, we're here in this world to build all we're supposed to be doing here. All the mitzvahs, all the halachas, all the musar shmuzas, all the kunzitzes you go to, all the chagim. Everything is in order to figure out a way how to build a mishkan in this world. Avi, it's good you're here tonight. Why? Because who is the person that really knew how to build the mishkan more than anyone else? We have to learn from the person who had this wisdom of the heart to build a dwelling place for the Ribono Shel Olam down here in this world if we want to do it for ourselves too. And that is Betsalel. Betsalel has what's called Chochmat Halev, wisdom of the heart. Last Shabbos, speaking about Binat Halev, the wisdom of the heart, the inner wisdom of the heart. However, it's the same thing. Chochmat Halev, Binat Halev. For now, I don't want to get into the different meanings of it, but the wisdom of the heart is something that Betsalel is graced with. He's blessed with, and the Ribono Shel Olam speaks about it a few times in our Parshiot in Sefer Shmot. It's amazing, when we think about like Shmot, think about the Parshiot, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Yosef, Moshe, Aaron, Miriam, and then it's like, Yeshua, but who else is really like shining bright? Betsalel doesn't really get as much respect as the Torah itself gives him. Because when the Torah itself says, Re'eh karati b'shem Betsalel ben Chur ben Uri ben Chur l'matei Yehuda, Betsalel is an unbelievable character. So if he's the one that's building the quintessential mikdash, which you and I have to build for ourselves as well, let's connect ourselves to who he was, where he came from, and how he learned to do what he did, so that you and I could really build a little mikdash in our hearts and in our souls. Well, the first thing you do when you try to understand about a person is how they got to where they got to. You always say, where did they come from? What's their yichus? And the Torah tells us, Betsalel ben Uri ben Chur l'matei Yehuda, and the Mishnah and the Midrash helps us too. The Midrash brings Betsalel all the way back miyuchas to Miriam Hanaviyah. His great-great-grandmother was Miriam, and his grandfather is Chur. We're going to talk about three people tonight: Miriam, Chur, and his cousin. If he had a cousin, if he's from Matei Yehuda and he's around the same time as Kriyas Yamsuf, Yitzias Mitzrayim, what's another Gevalt cousin of his from the tribe of Yehuda? Nachshon ben Aminadav is one of his cousins. So, for Miriam, it says about Betsalel. The Betsalel knew how to do stuff that he wasn't even instructed to do. Most of us are hopefully behold ourselves to be Heilige Yidden when we look in terms of the Shulchan Aruch and we say, I did it. I did exactly that. But Rabbi Shlomo always said, there's got to be more than that. There's got to be a place where the Ribono Shel Olam believes in you that you'll chap whatever you're supposed to chap on your own without being told, do exactly like this. What's one of the examples that Miriam does something out of the blue? We don't see that she's told to do it. However, she does it and she brings so much light in the world by doing it. I would think one of the greatest things in the world is let's go earlier, but that's a good one. Bringing the tambourine. Right. She's not told to bring a tambourine. However, what? She shows up with the Tov Miriam and they're singing. Before that, before putting Moshe in the basket and everything, even before that, based on the Gemara and Sota, Rashi brings down as well. Miriam rebukes her father. What a chutzpah! Miriam rebukes Amram. And she says, it's not enough that Paro decreed about all the firstborn males. You're saying no children at all, because remember he said, I'm done with not having children at all. She rebukes her father, and in the schus of that rebuke, a leader was born to Am Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu. So Betsalel too, it says about him that he knew how to do stuff on his own. It was mamash a trait he got from his grandmother Miriam. Great-great-grandmother Miriam. But I want to talk about his grandfather. because his grandfather should break our hearts deeply. Who's his grandfather? Chur. What do we know about Chur? We know three main things about Chur. Chur and Yoshua were the two people who were holding up Moshe Rabbeinu's hands while he was fighting Amalek. Remember it says, Vayihi Yadav Emuna, that when they were holding Moshe Rabbeinu's hands up, Am Yisrael was winning the war with Amalek, and when his hands went down, they were losing. Aaron was holding one side. I'm sorry, it was Yeshua, right? Yeshua was holding one side, and Chur was designated to hold the other side. It's a pretty big thing. What else do we know about Chur? Something incredible. When Moshe Rabbeinu, even before that, when Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to receive the Torah, what does he tell Am Yisrael? He says, these two guys, my brother and Chur, my cousin, he was Ben Miriam, so my nephew and my brother, these two guys, any shaylas you have about anything while I'm up there, go to these two guys. Chur comes from the tribe of Yehuda. He's related to Moshe and Aaron through his mother, but through his father, he comes from Yehuda. And when you're from the tribe of Yehuda, when you're from the lineage of Yehuda, you have the infinite possibility to become the king. Exactly. Mashiach. And what happens to Chur's status on that level? Well, it says last Shabbos in the Midrash, it's brought down that why did Aaron HaKohen agree to actually help Am Yisrael build an Egel Azav, build a golden calf blessing, which is so beyond trying to, we don't even understand at all what that whole thing was about. But we know that Aaron HaKohen, he mamash was able to, he let Am Yisrael, he helped them build a little Egel Azav. How could it be? So one of the explanations are, it says, it's brought down, that he saw what happened to his nephew Chur, because Chur was the one who actually tried to stand in the way of Am Yisrael, building the Egel Azav. And what did they do? They killed him. They killed him. He knew it was dangerous, and he knew he could have been Melech HaMashiach. And yet what does he say? Does that mean, in the face of Avodah Zarah in the world, does that mean anything to me? My own greatness in the world? What could it mean to me? In the face of such a Chilul Hashem. Mamish, the opposite of what's going on today in the elections, right? It's amazing. He's saying, I could care less about my name, about my Melucha. I'm come from the tribe of Yehuda. This is Betsalel's grandfather. And his cousin, we said, is Nachshon. So he comes from these three people in his mishpacha. You could see he's coming from something very holy, something very passionate, something very, very powerful. That's on the level of yichus, of who Betsalel comes from. However, even if he didn't come from anything, the way the Torah describes giving over to Betsalel who he is incredible. Because the Torah keeps on saying that God gave him it's like God just gives him something. The Ribono Shel Olam gave him this wisdom to be the architect of all architects, the designer of all designers. He has this chokhmat halev, lachshov machshavot, the Torah says. He knows how to think thoughts. That's what the Torah says about Betsalel. You know what we don't know how to? We don't know how to think thoughts. We do think thoughts, we don't know how to do it, right? We eat, we don't know how to eat. We sleep, sorry, we don't know how to sleep. But lachshov machshavot, to think thoughts, that's what the Torah says about him. The Ribono Shel Olam gave him the bracha that he knew how to think, how to process, how to take things and internalize it and do something with it. You know, Rabbi Shlomo always said, every single day, all day long, do you know how much light is coming down from heaven? Right now, as we're speaking. Do you know how much is coming down? That's what's mamish, the infinite moment to every single moment. There's hitchadshut habriyah, the renewal of creation. But what's the problem? Is that most of us don't know what to do with our talents. Or with our, how would you say it, latent talents? Like that, Latin talents? Latent. That thing that's hid inside that we're trying, what's that?
Dormant.
Dormant, yeah, that thing that It's there. We don't know how to access it. We don't know what to do with it. You know, sometimes you meet people, they're so talented. They know how to think their thoughts and what to do with it in the world. The source, the headquarters of someone who knows how to think their thoughts through and do something with it and trust their gut instincts and their emotions is Betsalel. Chochmat halev. Lachshov machshavot. Yeah.
That's what I always, like you made the connection. Like with Chochmah, we don't always think of lev. We think of feelings with the heart and Chochmah with the mind.
Right, but this bridges this brings those two worlds absolutely together. Now, this is an incredible thing, and I really want you to pay full attention and try to push away that last bottle of wine that's in your mind or in your heart. It's there, don't worry, and to try to wake up a bit more, because now we're getting to something, the basar, the meat of what we're going to tonight. It's such a special thing, and I want to tie this very beautifully in memory of our dear friend Michal Golom, Michal Moshe Zev Ben Natan. It's so important for me to mention his name because we mentioned his name for like a year and a half, learning in his memory, and now we're learning in his holy honor, in his neshama that's shining brighter more than ever, and I can't stop thinking about him every single day. So this is Mamish for him, and we're going to tie this beautiful thing into him. I heard from Rav Ginsburg a beautiful thing. You know, the Midrash says again that Betsalel got something on his own. What is it that he got on his own, this Chochmat Halev? How did Moshe Rabbeinu explain to Am Yisrael why Betsalel is the one that's chosen to mamish build the Mishkan? Now listen to this. In Parshat Ki Tisa, God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, listen, I got this guy. He rocks. He rocks. And I'm going to bless him. Va'amaleoto, you'll see, he's going to keep on growing up because how old was Betsalel? He was 13 years old. He's 13 years old. How old is Moshe Rabbeinu over here? Probably 83, 82. And Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, listen, you're Gewalt, but there's this Bar Mitzvah Bacher, and he really, he's got something going. He rocks, right? And the Rebbeinu Shalom says, "Va'amaleoto" in future tense, and you'll see it. He's going to grow up. He's going to learn more and more. You're going to see his thinking developing. You're going to see what kind of a yiddi he becomes. You're going to be blown away by him. Trust me. What a prospect! You're not going to believe it. This guy's going to be a Gewalt. And then what happens? That Moshe Rabbeinu in Parshat Vayakhel, he tells all Am Yisrael, listen, I got to tell you, last Parsha what Hashem told me, and I'm going to introduce you to this guy, and he's amazing. He's going to have an assistant too. Oliav ben Achisamach Lamatedan. That's for another shir because the Oliav comes from the tribe of Dan, which is the Pechut Shebashvatim, from the lower level of tribes, and he comes from Yehuda, Betsalel from the highest level of tribes. That's for another year. But for now, Moshe Rabbeinu quotes word for word how Hashem introduces him to Moshe in last Shabbos. But he adds one attribute. Moshe Rabbeinu adds one attribute when he speaks to Am Yisrael in this Parsha. And this one attribute that Moshe Rabbeinu adds is the most important attribute for anyone who's in education, or for anyone who wants to be in education, or for anyone who doesn't think they should be in education, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You know, one of my favorite books that you should all get it's a little Chabad book, and it's called The Educator's Privilege. It's a beautiful little book that Chabad, they took one of the sichas of one of the Rebbes, and what they did is it's all about how the mechanech, how the educator, his life is a privilege. His life is a privilege. I mean, not the way they have it here so much where it's like one guy on 35 kids in a classroom. I grew up like 1 on 18 in America. I don't know how they do it here, 1 on 30, 1 on 35, but God bless you. Amazing. But the educator's privilege, you should get this safe. It's an amazing thing. When Moshe Rabbeinu gives over to Am Yisrael who Betsalel is, what is the thing that he says after he says Chacham Lev and everything? 3 words, and remember these 3 words. Ulehorot natan belibo. What is ulehorot natan belibo? And God gave in his heart. What's that? Say?
From to teach.
Yes.
The teachings I gave him in his heart.
To teach. Lehorot. Natan. Hashem natan belibo. God placed in his heart to teach. God placed in his heart to teach. That's like, if you want to say like the one thing that we know from Moshe Rabbeinu, observing this 13-year-old, in the midst of one parsha, him observing this guy Betsalel, he says, wow, okay, listen, God said what he said about him, but now there's this one thing that I want to share with you about him. And and this is what I see. He says, I have ulehorot natan belibo. I see from him that this guy can really, 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 he has something about teaching, about giving over, that I've never seen by anybody else. And I heard from Rav Ginsburg, I wrote it down here, he said it so beautifully. Sorry, he quotes the Or HaChaim, who said it so beautifully, that to give in his heart the ability to teach, ulehorot natan belibo, so it means two different things which are totally interdependent, and you see how they're mamish related to each other in the same lashon in Hebrew. What does every teacher have to have? Mamish has to have?
Patience.
Where does it come from?
Sometimes I don't know.
You never know. What's that?
Love of the students.
So, where does that come from?
Your heart.
So that for sure comes from the heart. Ulehorot natan belibo, to teach he gave in his heart. But Or HaChaim says that every single Yidden has to have two components. One is called chush. You have to have a sense. Lachush, you have to feel it. Teaching is not a thing that's like, I know information, therefore I'll be a teacher. We were raised with plenty of those kind of people. You know, the typical Israeli who moves to America. I saw this in LA all the time, and because he knew Hebrew, and he had to make a few rubles, he swore when he leaves Israel he has nothing to do with Yiddishkeit anymore. Gets to America, gets to Peru, gets to wherever he gets to, and he realizes after a few months, oh, that whole freedom thing from the Jews and everything was nice. I don't have a shekel to my name. So before, all the Israelis worked in malls, which is what they do now, selling like soaps and stuff from Miguel Melach. So it used to be, like I've had friends that have done that in Denver, in Dallas, in Minnesota, in
Towns in the middle of
like wacky places, right? Rebecca, I have a friend that did it in Minnesota for a year and a half, and everything about his diet, everything, because of the cold, he became, Minnesota. Yeah, that's.
When you said wacky, I figured you were speaking of Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. No, he just sold soap in a mall in Minnesota, but the weather in Minnesota can make you a sugar. That's all I'm saying. She's from Minnesota. That's what I'm saying. So he has to have a. So I'm saying those guys. What did they do before they had the mall option? They taught Hebrew. Now, why did they teach Hebrew? Because they knew Hebrew. Mazel tov, because you know Hebrew. That does not mean that you can teach Hebrew at all. And yet, all these Hebrew schools are filled with Israelis that they're Hebrew teachers, but they're not Hebrew teachers. They just know Hebrew, but they don't know how to teach Hebrew. You see, that's the thing. Is like we have a lot of people that are rabbanim, that are mechanchim, because they know Torah. What does that have to do with teaching Torah? You have to have a chush for it. You have to be connected. You have to be able to have it's like, you ever see like a sculptures, right? Someone that Mamish makes sculptures, the most divine sculptures, right? That does not mean that he could teach people how to do that at all. The same with musicians. I have friends that said, well, I need to make a few rubles. I'm not talking about Benjamin Katz, because he actually is one of the few that actually know what they're doing. They're like, oh, I'm going to become, I have to make some money, so I should just teach guitar. I once went to one of those teachers, and like in the middle of the second class, like I looked at him with that face of like, should I just buy you a beer and call it a day? Like, there's no way in the world that you think that I think that I'm learning something right now. Let's be real, right? So the first thing, Baruch Chaim says, is that you have to have a chush. That's one of the things that Betsalel got. He had a sense for teaching. What's the other thing that the Baruch Chaim explains that a person has to do? Not just a chush, but a cheshek. You have to want it. You have to want to be a teacher. You have to want to have that privilege. That's not so pashut. That's really not so pashut. You have to have like a deep desire in your heart to share wisdom and to share your talent with others. And when I think about it, I think if we took all the teachers in Am Yisrael right now, and we said to them, how much are you so desiring to share Chokhmat Elokim versus how badly do you want to be the best teacher in the world? It's two different worlds. You ever learn with a teacher who's mamish so desires, he wants so badly to share wisdom with you? He wants it so badly. Lehorot natan belibo. In his heart is lehorot. You have someone like that?
No, that exists.
So I'll tell you something about Michal. I'll tell you something amazing about Michal Gaon. Something amazing. I haven't shared it, but I thought about it a few hours after he was buried, and I was in New York. So lonely. It was so dark and cold, and I was so missing home and wanting to be here, and it was very, very, very dark. It was just very, very dark. And Hashem had Rachmanas on me, and he reminded me of something that for some reason I forgot. This is approximately, this might be like 15, 16, 17 years ago, 18 years ago. It was one of my first Shabbos as in the Moshav. And I wanted so badly to drink from the fountain of everyone that I met there that could share with me anything about Rabbi Shlomo, no matter what. And I had no idea. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what I was doing there. I didn't understand anything that was going on. It was a very, very. I still don't when I'm there, but then I really, really, really didn't at all. Until I've been living there for So listen to this. Listen to what happened. This is really important because I forgot about this, and I think I told you when I got home on the phone. But I remembered this so badly, and I needed to remember this so badly, and I'm so thankful. So I'm standing by the Aron Kodesh, and I'm starting to wonder, wow, what was it like when he was here, when that king was here, leading Friday night davening, the way that everyone's speaking about what it used to be like. And I started getting so depressed. I looked up at Shemaim and I said, "You're so cruel." I said, "This is so cruel." Finally, there's this figure who connects me eternally to your word, and you just took him? How could it be? How could it be that I'm never going to experience what everyone was talking about? This is in the beginning, right? It's okay to have that voice. Obviously, that voice is very, very, very different now. Because if I was alive when he was alive, there's no way in the world I'd be able to taste that which I thought, that which after the fact I'm saying now. At that moment, when I'm having those thoughts, so Michal grabs me. We're in front of the Aron Kodesh, just me and him. Because sometimes he would just go up to the Aron Kodesh and hold on and just start, I remember it so many times, just start going like this in front of the Aron Kodesh. So he grabs me, he puts his arm around me, and he says to me, "You want to feel what it felt like dancing with the Rebbe Friday night?" How much those words?
Yeah, he said brother
Mm-hmm.
first. Always called you.
He said Precious Kohen.
Oh, precious Kohen.
Precious priest.
Very different type.
Precious priest.
I was totally.
Do you want to know what it felt like? Dancing with the Rebbe on Friday, with the King Friday night. And two of us, and this happened every Friday night when I used to go to the Moshav, those years. Every Friday night when I was there, we found each other right in front of the Aron Kodesh. And he put his arm around me exactly when the Chazan would finish, Hashem Yevonech Hasamay Bashalayim. back and forth, slowly, slowly. He'd always say, this is what it was like to dance with the Rebbe on Friday night. Now, why did I bring that up right now, other than just wanting to share something beautiful with him? It's for the following reason. I asked you before, from all the educators in Am Yisrael, and from all the singers, and from anyone in any public position, public profession, how many of them, when they sing, when they teach, they're desperate to give over the wisdom and the beauty of Hashem, and not their chap? How many of them are mamish, not that it would be nice, but that they're desperate to give it over? And with him, I didn't understand it. With many people till today, I don't understand it. But with something that happened those Friday nights is that when I was thinking about it, mamish, right after his burial, I said, wow. I never even asked him to tell me. I didn't ask him what it was like. But he saw a young kid that really, really, really wanted to taste it. And he said, I'm desperate. I almost felt like he's saying, I'm desperate for the next generation, for all of us, to feel something that was mamish there in the world. But it's not, you see, you have to have a chush, you have to have a sense to know how to give something over, and you have to also have a cheshek. You also have to want to give something over. So if Ginsburg says, many people could say, look, I'm not talented in the field of education. I'm just not good at, I could learn a gewalt, I could daven a gewalt, but I'm not a teacher. I can't do this, not my thing. There are teachers, I'm not a teacher. And many people have said that before. So if Ginsburg said, it's not true. Listen, when you really, really want to teach Dvar Hashem, and you put a ratzon, that you should have the cheshek in order to share your chush. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives you the matana in the schus of Betsalel. In the schus of Betsalel, who not just had a chush, but he had a cheshek to teach Am Yisrael. Ulehorot natan belibo, you're privileged if you want it that bad. Even if you say, I'm a stutterer, hey, I'm Moshe Rabbeinu, I can't get the words out of my mouth, I can't give things over, that's not my thing. My memory, it's not the greatest. My articulation, I'm not a demagogue, I can't give things over good. Whatever it is, if you want it that badly, it'll happen. So can you imagine if every leader and every Rav in Am Yisrael stopped? We put a pause on this race of sharing stuff, and we asked ourselves, how badly do I really want to give this teaching over? Where is it coming from? Am I good at it? That's another thing that none of us would really, that's another shaila. But how much do I really, we had this, and I printed out these pages that of course we didn't get to. But I'm going to share with you one paragraph from it to understand how Rabbi Shlomo says, what's the difference over here between someone that can teach and someone that's desperate to teach. He says like this, imagine the George Washington Bridge is broken and two people apply for the job to fix it. One is absolutely the greatest, most fantastic engineer, and the other one doesn't even know how to put one brick on top of the other. That's weird. You don't put bricks on a bridge, do you?
Brooklyn Bridge. The whole Brooklyn Bridge.
Brooklyn Bridge is broken.
That's why it caved the first few months it was built. Okay, anyway. This other person doesn't even know what a bridge looks like. But Gewalt is he most desperate that the bridge should be fixed. This is so important. He's absolutely desperate. So look what he says here. The way of the world is that you take an expert who knows how to fix the bridge. That's how we live in this world. With Chokhmah. Someone that knows. Not Chokhmah Talev, Chokhmah Tarosh. Someone that just has wisdom. The way that God is running the world, and I hope you find yourselves right now in the next few sentences. The way that God is running the world is that He chooses the one who is most desperate that it should happen. You see, at this point, nobody in the world has been that desperate for the coming of Mashiach, so he hasn't come yet. Imagine this one person who will be the most desperate that Mashiach should come. He's the one who will probably be Mashiach. Everyone's constantly asking, how will the world get better? So some say that people will suddenly be enlightened and suddenly many things will start taking place. Our prophets told us something else. Our prophets told us that there will be someone, a person like you and I, and he will be able to bring so much oneness into the world. So Rabbi Shlomo says, why will he be able to bring so much oneness into the world? Because he's so desperate for God's oneness to be in the world. He wants it so, it is that he wants it, he's so desperate. You know what Rebbes are, and he goes into this, you know what a real teacher is? A real teacher? A real teacher is not desperate that he's the one that gets to teach you. A real teacher, the B'ditchev says, is one that's desperate that God's word should just be shared in the world. And usually those people end up being the people chosen for the task. Those people that for them, they do not need to be the ones to share the message. Betsalel, he didn't need to be the one. But you know what he needed to happen for him in this world? That the chokhmat halev, that people's talents should be recognized by their own neshamas. He was so desperate for that to happen. Moshe Rabbeinu tells Am Yisrael, and I see this, ulehorot natan belibo, he has this chokhmat halev, and he knows what he's doing with God's gifts. God is sending him all these thoughts, and he knows how to lachshov machshavot. When we look further on in the Parsha, right after Betsalel is introduced to Am Yisrael, about everyone should bring for the building of the Mishkan, they should bring from their own, from the Nedivut Halev, from the graceness, the Nedivut, the generosity of their heart. It's amazing what happens. And we're ending with this, because this is the way the Parsha ends too. The Parsha of Betsalel ends in our Parsha. What happens right after they're introduced to a person like this? 3 psukim later, after they're told to bring towards the Mishkan, to be part of building something with a guy like this. What's the command? Stop, Am Yisrael. Marbim ha'am lehavim. There was no more room anymore. They had to stop bringing because it was getting too much. They kept on bringing towards the Mishkan so much because for them, Nedivot Halev, they bring anything in the world if it meant being part of building something with that person. He gets to Am Yisrael's heart. He fixes Am Yisrael's neshama after such a low, rotten place of 3,000 Yidlach being killed by Moshe Rabbeinu and the Levim, and another Magefa, Vayigoyf Hashem Ba'am. After the sin of the golden calf, there's someone that stands up again. He says, it's possible to bring oneness again to the world. If we just look at each other and we say, how desperate am I right now that you get what you need to get in life? How much do I really want the word of the Ribono Shel Olam to shine in your heart? And how much do I care if it's me or if it's someone else that gets the gig to do that? And as musicians, I always say, if you don't get a gig to go to that Shabbat, wacky chevra in Montana to do that amazing Shabbos and turn on 30 people to keep Shabbos for the first time, but someone else gets the gig, are you still as happy? Because the job is being done? Or does it just have to be you? Betsalel is the person who shows us that a real educator is someone who doesn't just know that he has a sense for it. Maybe he doesn't have a sense, but gewalt does he have a cheshek. He wants it so badly. And that's the difference between the way the world works and the way the Ribono Shel Olam works. Like the example of the 2 people that applied for the job to build the Brooklyn Bridge. There was a story, oh man, I forget, this Rosh Yeshiva came to some yeshiva to check out people, I don't remember this exactly, to check out students to see who's suitable to marry his own daughter. See, back then, how did shidduchim work by the Rosh Yeshiva? Whoever was the top Talmud. Rabbi Shlomo says when he was learning in Lakewood, people would be sending shidduchim to him all the time, to his Rebbeim in Lakewood for their daughters. So these people would come to Lakewood, and the Rabbanim would say, Kabach, he's like the Gaon, yeah. Bring him over. So they didn't ask him like one question about what he wants to do in like anything. They just asked him how he learns and how much he does, what is he doing? Well, if he's not learning every second, how do you spend it, So he realized like not one person asked him like what kind of a life do you want? What are you looking for in a woman? So anyway, but back then this is how it was, that they would go and find shidduchim for their daughters in these places, in these yeshivas, whoever was the top Talmud. So he would test the students, this Rosh Yeshiva, to see who knew the answer. So one time there was one guy who, I think the story is that he didn't know the answer, and other guys knew the answer to the Shaila. But the guy that didn't know the answer was the one that was chosen to be this Rav's future son-in-law. So when the Chavra there asked this Rav, said, what are you doing? He didn't know the answer. In class, all the other guys knew the answer. He says, yeah, but you didn't see what happened after class. After class, he knew he wasn't going to get the prize of marrying my daughter, because he didn't know the answer. But he came up to me and he said, well, what is the answer? What is the maskana of the Gemara? And he said, and that's when I knew that he's desperate to know, not to impress me. He's desperate to know what the bottom line of the Torah is saying. That's a person I want for my daughter. And that's what it looks like from up there. Not if you know the answers, but how desperate are you to know? This is who Betsalel is, and this is the person who builds the Mishkan in Am Yisrael. And this is how you and I fulfill our jobs in this world, with building a little Mikdash Me'at in our hearts, in our souls. How desperate are we? And when we do find this talent that's hiding inside, how desperate are we that our talent comes to life? So really what happens after Purim, the drunkenness of Purim, is that you see something about you that you didn't know existed before. Like some guy called me today, he wrote me a whole text saying, listen, I'm sure you're going to tell me I don't need to. I want to officially apologize for the way I acted, for what I might have said at your Purim Suda. And I don't remember any of it. I don't even have a recollection of being at your table, but apparently I was there for like an hour. I said to him, listen, bro, you really don't, like at first I was like, you really don't remember? No. And he said, I probably, whatever I said was a lie. That's what he said. Whatever I said was a lie. I said, I really hope not. And he said, what? I said, bro, you were Kodesh Kodashim. Where your heart was crying. People are so scared about what kind of drunk they're going to come out. When you're around Dibuk Chaverim and you're singing to the Ribono Shleiman, whatever's going to come out is emes. Whether it's heavy, sad, happy, whatever it is. I said to him, your tshuva at that moment, at the Seulah, it prepared everyone for their b'dikas chametz, to get their own act together, to clean out their chametz inside. He thought I was pulling his. I said to him, listen, the truth is Daniel says, probably has it videotaped. So we could show it to you, and we could show you your tshuva or not. But the truth is that something comes out, a talent that was hiding, does show up Pesach, up Purim night, Purim day. And then you gotta schlep it to the Seder table. And by the Seder table, when you become a free person, you daven so much, please, Ribono Shleiman, I'm so desperate to connect my talents with my passion. But alavai, I should be so holy that I shouldn't care that it's me that's chosen to shine in the world, but as long as your name is shining in the world. That should be the most important thing in the world. That's Betsalel, that's how we say goodbye to Sefer Shmot, and that's how you and I build a little Beis HaMikdash down here in this world. Dun, 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 la, 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 la Thank you so much for coming, everybody, and we'll see you all. We'll see you in Yerushalayim on Wednesday, and we'll see you back here next Monday night with Hashem.